Hello, friends. Welcome. Today, I wanted to speak a little bit to part of the healing path that is really at the heart of the healing path, which is learning how to live our lives from the living flow of the present moment, from the creative impulse of life, from the spirit that wants to move through us, rather than living from a place of rational control, of habit, of trauma patterns. And one of the most common questions that comes up when we come to this idea of living by instinct, by our higher wisdom, is how do we discern the difference between wise intuition and between the voices of old habits, the voices of culture, the voices of our trauma patterns, the voices of a critical parent or um, other voices coming from fear. And I've been I've been finding answers or a useful framework to look at this through the New Testament recently. And so I believe it's Matthew 5, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is talking about, beware of false prophets. You will know the true prophets by their fruits. They will have good fruits. A good tree will bear good fruits, which then leads to the question, well, what are good fruits? And actually, okay, I'm going to grab the Bible so I don't misquote things too badly here. Um, yeah, that brings me to Galatians, where Paul writes in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. And that is a pretty fantastic measuring stick to use here when we're listening to the voices, when we're listening to the voices, the promptings that we hear, we can ask what is the fruit of this voice? So I think on the one hand, it's helpful to notice when you're hearing these promptings, these callings, in that moment, how are you feeling? How are you feeling in your body? Do you feel, number one, which Paul doesn't mention that I think is important, is do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? If you're listening and you're coming from a place of fear, very likely the voices that come through are also going to be voices that are fear driven, that are driven by the past, by habit. So that's number one is establishing safety in your body, in your nervous system, practicing trust and faith and trusting that this moment is okay. And I'll speak, I actually have some other videos on safety, and I'll speak more about safety at another time. But that's number one is safety. Am I safe when I'm listening for promptings that come in? And then I think we can get to this, the fruit of the spirit, and ask, okay, when I feel this impulse, when I feel this impulse, is it leading me to love and joy and peace? Honestly, those are great measuring points. Love, joy, and peace, but also patience, gentleness, goodness, faith. Is it leading me towards those things? Does this voice have that quality of love and joy and peace? Or is it something else? Is this coming out of fear and doubt, desire to control? And so part of this is learning to track those states in your own body, getting really familiar with knowing what does love feel like in my body? What does joy feel like in my body? What does peace feel like in my body? So you start to build your compass. You start to build your orientation to know, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And you can do that. You can do that right now. You can do that right now. Just look around in the space you're in, wherever you are, and notice, what in here can I look at? What brings me a feeling of love and peace and joy? What feels pleasant to look at? And if that feels inaccessible, you can even just start with what feels neutral to look at, what feels at least not dangerous, what feels not bad, just neutral. And spend regular time familiarizing yourself with this feeling. What is it like to feel safe? What is it like to feel peace? What is it like to feel joy and love? Even if it's just 2% that you can tap into that feeling, just start to tap into it. Let your body get to know this feeling. And then, as you're going about your life, trying to figure out what to make of your precious life, what to do in each moment and each day, you can just ask, what am I supposed to do next? And listen, and then notice the answer. How do I feel in my body? Is this answer coming from fear? Is this an old story? Is this a trauma response? Or do I feel that connection that I've been building to peace and love and joy? Can I follow the little glimmers of light that I've been connecting to and trust in that? And it's a process. You're building a muscle. You're building a muscle of discernment, of orienting towards the good. And it's probably going to be hard at first. It was for me. But the more you practice it, you're building up this muscle, you're building up this skill set, and eventually it becomes second nature. You learn how to listen, you learn how to recognize spirit when she wants to move through you. You learn how to orient towards love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness. And the more you bring your attention there, the more you listen to that, the more you follow the calls that bring you in that direction, the stronger this force becomes in your life, the easier it becomes, and the more things start to open up for you. So that's my invitation. Start practicing right now. Just notice what's good. Notice what brings you a feeling of joy and peace. Get to know how that is in your body and trust in your process and the practice of it and know that it gets easier the more you do it. Thank you for being here.